Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker.
I'm Lee White.
And I'm Anthony Wheeler. Let's jump into it, huh, guys?
Okay, so what we're doing today is there's three things that popped up into the news recently, illustration related, and I wanted to bring them to our audience's attention and then us react or talk about or analyze these things. So the first item up for business today is Google launches personalized Gemini Storybook app to industry concern. This comes from Publishers Weekly. I'm going to share my screen here for this article.
Okay.
Did you guys hear about this before I sent it to you in the email?
I had seen
Was
a
this on your
cautionary.
radar?
I had seen a cautionary post on one of the SCBWI forums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I avoid as much AI news as possible, so I had not seen it.
Okay. So essentially what this does, Google has its own little AI tool called Gemini. By the way, have you heard what people are paying to snipe other AI scientists and like programmers over from other companies to join, like specifically Facebook?
I think it's slightly more than we make here, right?
Barely. What is it?
So all these tech companies, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, everybody is like just trying to get the upper edge on this AI technology. And it's all comes down to like this handful of people who are these computer nerds who have figured out how to do it. And they're like advancing the front lines, right? And so there have been reports that Mark Zuckerberg has given signing deals of $250,000 for individual people to join Facebook because of their AI. Yeah, $250 million. I forgot the million part. $250 million with, signing bonuses or like a quarter of that upfront in the first year or upon signature. And so everybody, it's just crazy madness. So in the mix of all this money that's swirling around and people investing in the technology and people investing in the people and all that stuff, we have Google coming out with a little storybook app where you can punch in, it says, after the user has supplied a chatbot with parameters for the desired story and art style, Storybook needs only a few seconds to create a 10-page digital storybook in any of its 45 language options. So I think these companies are also, because of these huge investments, they're also figuring out, well, what do people actually want to use this for, right? And so they're trying out all this stuff. And so this one is essentially a children's book maker at the push of a button. I had to try it out myself. And a little backstory here. One day, Lee and I were trying to meet with Will, and it was just like a random meeting. So we were texting him. And we're like, hey, Will, join us. Will, join us. He wasn't responding to texts. And so I can't remember who it was, but one of us was like, where in the world is Willie McPickle? Because we're like,
we're calling him Big Pickle because we thought he's playing pickleball, probably.
Sure.
Yeah. So where in the world is Willie McPickle? And we ended up like writing a little children's book rhyme thing in the text thread. He finally showed up.
Yeah, like Dr. Seuss.
So I put that into the prompt list, and what I got was, where in the world is Willie McPickle? I told it to make it all animals. I told it to make Willie McPickle a bear, and this is the thing it spit out. So we're gonna read through it really quick, and then we're going to critique the art and see if this is going to take our jobs or if it even is worth anybody's time for even playing with. So where in the world is Willie McPickle? If you're listening, it's got a bear with a pickleball on the cover. Page 1, in the bustling town of Whiskerwood Hollow lived a big husky bear named Willie McPickle. More than anything, Willie loved pickleball. He loved the thwack of the paddle and the boing of the ball.
I'm rolling my eyes already. Sorry.
Yes. I can't even read the whole thing. The next page is him playing at night. He played in the morning, he played in the afternoon. The next page is a fox in like a little hutch under a tree with a steaming pie. Has anyone seen Willie as Foxy, the clever fox, peeking into his empty burrow? His berry pie is getting cold. Then we've got a badger at Whiskerwood Goods, the general store. He can't find Willie anywhere. Then we have the fox and the badger really awkwardly looking at a bridge to see if Willie's there.
My God, what happened to the fox's legs?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so then we have a little squirrel, not in the same style at all of the other characters. Little Pip. He hears a thwack, a boing. What's that peculiar sound? And now we see this hidden pickleball court in the woods. And
He's just playing by himself, by the way.
Through the grass, we see Willie McPickle playing pickleball by himself. I don't know how you do that exactly.
There's no one on the other side of the court. He's not hitting it against the wall. It's,
So
for those of you guys who are listening.
Pip runs back and tells the fox. The fox isn't even looking at Pip. The background is perfectly symmetrical. And Pip's like, he's at the secret court, because you want to keep pickleball secret in the woods. We come back and Willie McPickle is drenched in sweat.
Somehow the badger is coming out of the ground in the court. He's halfway,
Yes.
like almost like that's a pool, and he's coming out of the pool.
He also doesn't have legs.
No, that's what I mean. It's like the edge of the court is, for those of you guys listening, it's hard to describe this, but if you were to just take a picture of somebody climbing out of a swimming pool, that's what the badger is doing, except for it's the pickleball court. It's not a pool.
Right. Right. Maybe there's the court is like pushed into a hill of a wall, and there's a ledge.
It would have to be. Yeah, it would have to.
So they found him, and then Willie McPickle now has a full head of hair. And Willie said Foxy gently, "We're glad you love pickleball, but we missed you, and your pie is getting cold." Willie smiled. "You're right," he said. "Maybe a game with friends is even better." Okay, so
Before we start bagging on it, because that's going to be 90% of this, just as a precursor, because there's so many things wrong with it. I do want to give it a pro in that the backgrounds are pretty nice.
Yeah. I mean, the rendering style is imperceptibly like human in a way. I mean, it's an AI thing, but it's like it almost feels like this is a style honed over years. I wonder which artist it ripped it off from. I did. The prompt did say, "Do it in the style of Will Terry."
Oh, okay. So that it does have something to kind of build on, because it looks like that. But if you cut the characters out and just looked at the backgrounds, they're pretty nice. Like if an artist posted that on Instagram and said, "Hey, here's a painting I did," I would.
Yeah, there's some nice style choices.
Yeah. Okay, so now the other thing to rip apart, and this is going to be general broad stuff, not individual, because there's so many things on each page. Obviously, anybody who's familiar with AI knows it doesn't get some of the details right, the hands and whatever, the fingers. But the conversation I had with my wife this morning about this kind of stuff, we were talking about this in particular because I knew we were going to be talking about it on the podcast, is that writing a good story, like say we've gotten to the point where you can click a button and a story gets written like this one. The problem is, in a nutshell to me, is that there's an aesthetics choice that a writer has to see, a writer or an artist, if it's visual, has to see something and have been trained enough in an aesthetic to be able to say, I do like that or I don't like that. And then that's how great things are made, in my opinion. And my analogy here is going to be, if anybody's listened to the Rick Rubin interviews and stuff that he's done, he's the music producer for countless bands, Prince and Red Hot Chili Peppers, all these Beastie Boys. And they ask him, do you play a musical instrument? He's like, no, he doesn't play anything. He can't operate a soundboard. He can't do anything. But he talks about that. He says, they're paying me for my choices. He's tuned his ear. Mm-hmm. You can't just walk in and think, if I learn a mixing board, I'm going to make an album like the Beastie Boys made. And so there's a certain amount of aesthetics that go with it to be able to say this is good or this is not good. And that's my argument against AI is that if somebody who's untrained enters stuff into AI, they will not know good from bad because they haven't trained that aesthetic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I was reading through this article. So the concept, which again will get twisted over time, is that that this is an app that can help children understand a complex topic like the solar system, or teach lessons about values such as kindness through characters that reflect a kid's interests, or bring a kid's artwork to life, which is maybe kind of cool. Or maybe do memories into a custom storybook. So their whole idea here is that this could be highly customized for just a small kid. It's funny as the article continues to go on. Clearly, this has been met with some mixed response, right?
Right.
And so I love this. I love this line here, and I laughed out loud. Sarah Dooley, a consultant who offers courses and consulting to parents through her business, AI Empowered Mom. So she's just a shill for AI. She's a huge fan of the product. But then it goes down further, and I think this is where we start to hone those voices and that creativity, what Lee's talking about. Well, there's a whole subset of people that are terrified that this thing doesn't have a lot of guide rails and a lot of like borders and rails to it, where they're finding like there's nudity inside of it, and that people can really make some pretty terrifically terrible stuff. And that's in addition to that there's no real tone, there's no real voice,
Right.
there's no real anything, right?
Yeah, in my opinion, who this is going to appeal highly to is some untrained, and this is going to sound like I'm bagging on this, but I actually mean this as a compliment in a way. Untrained writer who wants to make 4 storybooks for their immediate family about their kid who's interested in pickleball, or whatever the thing is. And so it becomes this highly specific, the quality does not matter on a big scale. It's like, oh, look, there's our dog Sparky, and it says our dog Sparky in the book. And you're like, oh, cool. And it's a more, one of those personal things. It's going to appeal to that group in the same way that regular AI appeals to like a starter band who's looking to release a CD and they don't have enough money to pay a designer. So they just need something. But it's not going to be something that is worthwhile over time.
Right. So my take on this is going to, the title here is Google launches personalized Gemini storybook app to industry concern. I'm not concerned about this. This is not going to eat into children's book sales, because people who buy children's books, you got to think about the psychology behind it. It's either I need to get a gift for my child or my grandkid, and it needs to be something they can open up on their birthday, or it needs to be something I can hand them when they're visiting me on this family vacation that they've come out to visit grandma. They're not going to hand them an app, on a tablet and say, "Look, I generated a story for you." They want to hand them a children's book. Or the people who buy children's books love collecting and filling a bookshelf and having a library of things to pull them off. Anybody who loves children's books loves the actual, like, the feel of the paper, the flipping of the pages, the cadence of it. And also they love the artistry and the writing that's going on behind it. So the people I think this appeals to is more like the person who's handing their kid an iPad at age 2 and just leaving them alone with it, right? I could see this being the same thing. Like, I could also see this being like a family sitting down at the table, they're talking, it's dinner time, whatever. They joke about something and the dad's like, oh, this would be a great children's book for tonight. So he'll just punch it in, it'll generate it. And he's like, kids, I'm going to read this to you tonight, right? That family probably wasn't a family that was going to read a children's book anyway, but it was just like some diversion. So in a way, it might actually lead to, children loving a bedtime story who haven't been getting a bedtime story, and now might even lead into someone going and buying what's the hottest children's book right now, like Llama Llama Red Pajama, which is 10 years old, I guess, or 15 years old now, but
Still
that's
hot.
the one that came off the top of my head.
Still
But,
hot.
yeah, still hot. I mean, it is, right? If you got famous rappers rapping it with it. So that's where I'm thinking it's not taking away sales because the person using this doesn't overlap with someone who's buying children's books.
I think you even, so I think there's probably some illustrators that are at home right now, especially if they're watching the YouTube video and they were seeing the Willie Pickle book, is like, could they use this as a launching pad for their own projects? And I guess that, going back to Lee's point, some of the background work is actually halfway okay. It is definitely rendered in a style. It's not consistent from page to page, and there's huge issues with it over the breadth of 10 pages. One thing that I will say for the storybook, the budding storybook illustrator, one of the other big issues is these are not editable images. And so for somebody to really go back through and try to re-prompt this stuff, well, hey, on page 10, Willie's got a lot of hair. Could we dial that hair back? But are you dialing it back 3%, 10%, 40%? And so there's just like reckless inconsistencies on a project like this. And I think people are going to have to deal with that, which means like this is not a tool serviceable, so
Hey,
we can be
real
fully
quick.
replaced.
Sorry, real quick. Who is typing right now?
Oh, that's me. Is it coming in?
Golly,
Really loud?
it is so loud.
You're in a room with absolutely nothing on the walls. You're
Sorry
in a
about
white box.
Sorry about that.
I mean, it sounds almost like a sound effect. It's so loud.
Yeah, it was impressive. Yeah,
I was just doing a search really quick, but I'll mute myself. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah, but no, that's really it. Is like I think you could use something like this to generate some ideas and maybe understand a little bit of perspective and maybe some background work. I think you would be absolutely cooked if you tried to try to pump out one of these images, because they're just you can't edit this stuff. You can't drop this into Photoshop and like fix that bear. Good luck. Good luck.
Well, you'd have to just repaint it from scratch, which means why wouldn't you just do your own book at that
Might as
point?
well. Yeah, you just do your own thing.
This is an odd choice too, to just plug the light bug straight into a pole, like a
Yeah,
candy
there's a
cane
lot of.
pole.
I actually like that detail in a weird, very. Sometimes it offers up something so strange that I actually enjoy how weird it is.
Yeah.
But do you guys think that there's a future job for editor, basically Photoshop, AI retouch artists for like, hey, okay, I made this book. Now can you take that hair off the bear? And like now there's people like us, instead of making our own illustrations, we're now editing these kind of crap images.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jake?
I with the way AI is like, with the amount of investment and brain power is going into making these tools better, I think this will be able to do whatever you need it to do in a few years. If not this, then something else. The question is, how accessible to consumers are they going to want to make it? Like, it might be at the end of the day that Google just realizes, well, the juice isn't worth the squeeze for this particular product. We're getting a lot of people, or we're churning a lot of processing power for this and not generating enough revenue from it.
Why would they make this? Just backing up to the 10,000 foot view. Why would they make this and put it out there for free? I mean, what is the benefit to them to build this?
I mean, it's obvious. It's going to be this at some point. Right now, there's an add-on here, but imagine having to like move all the ads out of the way in order to see the book.
Like on the bear's shirt, it just says DuPont. It's like,
or there's a big watermark on it, and you got to pay if you want to actually download the images. You got to pay for it or something like that. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day too. So clearly, we are creatives, and people who are listening to this podcast are in the creative headspace. And I think we're all nervous about our jobs and our livelihoods, and that's all very clear. I also think that there's a certain point where people are just going to be like, "Ooh, cool! That's so neat and shiny. I'm going to try that." And they try it, and then they lose complete interest because there's this whole subsect of the world who isn't in a creative headspace like we are, and they're not thinking about story all the time. And this almost feels like a burden at a certain point. Like I think humans are going to get to the point where they feel burdened to put prompts into a thing to generate a story for their kids because it's just going to feel like it's work. And then they're just going to get bored. They're just not going to be into it.
Yep. Yeah. Here's the book I generated while you guys were talking. It's called the Critter Chatter Podcast.
Hold on, I gotta make you big on my screen again so I can see this.
In the heart of Whispering Woods, three friends, Anthony, Jake, and Lee, had a very special show, Critter Chatter, the Woodland's most listened to podcast.
Hey, real quick, did you enter in what character? This is the same characters from Willie McBickle.
No, I just said they're animals.
So everybody's gonna have this bear, fox, and badger, no matter what they.
Right.
Wait, does that owl have both wings and additional wings that are his hands?
Four.
Why does he have so many wings?
4 arms.
I don't know. I don't know. There's Anthony, the badger.
Oh, okay, all right. That's a little unfair. Why am I the chubby badger? That's not.
Am I the?
I promise I did not prompt it to make.
I've got to be the
Anthony
fox,
chubby.
and then Jake is the owl at this point, I guess.
No, he's the fox. It says Jake
what?
the fox. Anthony the badger grumbled. Yeah, I do grumble.
I'm the owl, a wise old owl.
You are. You're
That's
old,
the
but not
least
wise.
Likely spirit animal I would have.
But
Yeah, you
see
just
what's
ask it to
happening-
analyze all of Lee's social media posts from the last 30 years and assign a pet profile to it.
No, I already know what that is. It's Scrat from the Ice Age. That's my personality. Is like
I like how this children's book too, for the life of itself, could not get more than two characters on a single page.
Yeah.
well, and it's the
Even though
same
it's a
shot. Every background
A
is exactly the
three-animal
same.
podcast. Yeah.
But you notice too that the microphones don't have cords. Like some of them do and some of them don't. So
and
you
it
go
Goes
from
back and
wireless.
forth.
I think it
Exactly.
proves that this tech will have a purpose with a small subset of people. And I think these big companies want to beef out their portfolios so they can be the dominant player within the AI space. And they provide all of these different things to all of these different people. So instead of being a specialist, they're a generalist, and it's like the Amazon of AI. But something like this ultimately it's not real. Doesn't move the needle, right?
It's not authentic. I mean,
It is what it was for us right now. Oh, that's funny. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
so
You
it's
know?
sort of like a filter on your phone, right? You
There it
laugh
is.
at it for a few minutes, and then it's like,
Mhm.
well, what am I going to do with this?
Forget
And then you get bored of it. You get completely bored of it. I also like the cross-eyed, like Jake is a cross-eyed fox, which makes me feel
Yeah.
good.
Do you think the music world is the equivalent where, like, if you could, I'm not a musician, but all of a sudden I've got the ability to press create love song about this person in this space and whatever, and it creates a song. Would anybody feel satisfied saying, I'm a musician, I made this
No.
song? So it's sort of the
No.
same thing, I guess.
One thing that this does, and I've been having this, not epiphany, that's the wrong term, but all three of us do both traditional and digital art. And I think we're pretty proficient in both of those mediums. Stuff like this, I do sort of feel bad for the sole digital illustrator who has not worked outside of their craft, outside of that specific craft, and has siloed themselves, and they've really perfected themselves in this nice, cute, well-rendered kind of thing.
Yeah,
that
soft. Yeah.
their work is a little bit more obsolete faster than the rest of the world, in the sense of the people who are really daring, who are really trying, who are creating things in the physical world. And I'm not denigrating digital art at all. I did a bunch of it yesterday, and I was really satisfied with my work. But it does show that craftspeople who make things with their hands will really have a place, and that place might be a little bit smaller than it used to be, but I think that they will still have a place.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that sort of begs the question. It is, does it make that stuff actually have more value? Kind of like Jake said, is like all of a sudden there's going to be a new value proposition because a lot of people can't do the traditional stuff, and AI is not going to spit out that kind of stuff. I mean, like the content that I see on my Instagram is all real artists that I've been, led to from the styles that I'm interested in, whatever. And there is no AI that's putting out that. I'm not saying it can't put it out, but it's not putting it out, if that makes sense. And so does that stuff become more, does that add value to us?
To people, to some people, right? I think it will. To other people, they won't care, but they wouldn't have cared in the first place. I also think showing your work, and of course you can fudge with AI, video editing and video generation. You can fudge the whole process of like showing how you make a thing. But I think the craftspeople, even the digital craftspeople who are amazing, who are going to be showing a little bit more of how they do things or how their brain comes up with that story, I think those are the ones that are going to really thrive and survive in this next 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, this is Publishers Weekly. If you go into the news section, you can see here publishing industry sales saw modest gains in 2024. So there was a dip in 2023 because there was a huge spike during COVID, and then we came down off of this high and started to dip, but then things are sort of coming back up again. And really where the growth was, if you read in here, it was, if you look here, it was children's young adult fiction was where we saw the biggest gains. Children's and young adult fiction. So, people, I think there is just this like ground floor wellspring of people wanting to still give their kids books, to have these classic book fairs, to have kids just interact with paper and with, something that doesn't spit an ad into their face every day or show them, TikTok videos half the time, that they can actually just read a thing and have their mind focused on that. So I'm hopeful. Should we move on to the next?
Let's move on the hopeful note.
Yeah. All right. So this caught my eye. This was kind of a showcase piece on the New York Times on Saturday, I think it was. And I had not known about this painting, and I thought I knew about pretty much everything N.C. Wyeth had done. So N.C. Wyeth is one of the, I would say, on the Mount Rushmore of illustrators. Wouldn't he be? He'd be like the George Wyeth, Howard Pyle. N.C. Wyeth would be at least two faces on the illustration Mount Rushmore. For sure, right?
Yeah, Norman Rockwell.
Norman Rockwell, and then Maurice Sendak, probably.
Maybe.
That's an interesting one. Ooh, this is a good debate for the YouTube comments. It's like, who would you person? Yeah, who's that last person, or who's even your Mount Rushmore of creatives?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. J.C. Leyendecker, maybe. There definitely was a phase where if you wanted to really make it in the illustration world, you had to have two initials be your first name.
That's why I asked everyone to call me A.V. Wheeler from now on.
A.V. Wheeler.
Well, the second initial has to be a C. So
has to be, yeah. So anyways, what was interesting about this is the title of the article is "A Giant Wyeth Mural Comes Out of the Vault Bearing Family Stories." And I don't know if you had a chance to read this article, guys, but it had just a little bit of everything in it. From what do you do with a massive painting that there's no space for it, to like really enticing family drama stuff as well. So,
and when we say big, because people might not know what big means, this is scale. Like 20 feet tall and like, what does it say 60, there, Jake?
60 feet long, 19 feet high. These look like tiny little Smurfs hanging this thing on a wall.
The people hanging it are smaller than the figures on the painting. Like,
yeah.
And then for the majority, I don't want to say the majority, for the early part of this painting's life, which was created in 1932, it lived in a bank. So it was part of this big bank exhibit on the wall for, oh my gosh, years and years and years. And then as the bank sold and changed, then the painting left, and it is just coming out of hiding here to be reinstalled into a massive family barn for part of the Wyeth family. And
Yeah,
as
there's
Jake is
a
scrolling through the video, yeah, you can see the barn right there. It's this big circular barn, and it's basically going to be this like little tiny sort of family monument to this huge painting.
Now, one thing that stuck out to me here was where did it say it? I'm trying to find the section. Okay. One thing stuck out to me was this. America's, so it talks about NC Wyeth, right? And if you have heard the name before and you're not quite sure who's NC Wyeth again, I guarantee you've seen his paintings. But it says here, by 1911, Wyeth's own vivid illustrations were beginning to sell out book editions of Treasure Island, Kidnapped, Robin Hood, King Arthur, and many other Scribner classics. In all, he is credited with illustrating some 112 books, many still in print over 100 years later. So to give you an idea, this was an era where there were definitely not as many books being printed now, but there was still a ton of books being printed. First time where they're really understanding like 4-color process. So this guy Wyeth was taking these like really colorful paintings, and they're getting reproduced in a bright, vivid way. So people were wanting to buy these books. Kids were being raised on these books, and if you ever seen his Treasure Island paintings or his Robin Hood stuff or King Arthur stuff, they kind of set the tone for what 20th century fantasy movies would be like, video games would be like eventually, like all the just any sort of illustration. He sort of set the tone for it. But here's the thing that stuck out to me. America's greatest painter of costume romance, as the Boston Sunday papers called him, according to Wyeth biographer David McCallis, was deeply conflicted, disdaining illustration as a lesser art. So what do you take from that? That one of the greatest illustrators on the Mount Rushmore of illustration thought illustration was a lesser art.
Is that because he considered himself a painter versus an illustrator?
I'm thinking he was probably trained classically, obviously.
Sure.
He probably grew up. I think here's what happens is around your teens or your early 20s, you get inspired to pursue a path in life. And for me, it was comics, right? And so I look at the comic book because as a 14-year-old getting a X-Men comic by Jim Lee, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is where it's at. This is the thing. I will not feel, there's still a part of me, even though I've had all the success in my career, I will not feel like fully fulfilled unless I've actually done an X-Men comic, right? As ridiculous as that sounds. And so I think the same sort of thing is going on here with NC Wyeth, where yeah, I've made millions of dollars off of illustration, but what I really would love is a painting hanging in the Louvre.
Yeah. So he was trained by Howard Pyle in the early 1900s, before Pyle's death in 1911. And Pyle was listed as an illustrator, painter, and author, and he worked on a lot of on also a lot of books for young people as well. That's an interesting distinction to not want to be classified sort of as an illustrator in that way, considering those roots. That's fascinating.
Well, but remember at the time, illustrators were not allowed in real art museums. The weird part of that at that moment was commercially, that was the absolute height of pay and sort of prestige for illustrators. But between then and like probably the next 20 years, those artists would be the equivalent. They would be probably millionaires. But within the greater art community, they were looked down on as it definitely being a lesser art. And so a lot of those guys did end up it's strange that to see this one, how big the mural is, because like if you look at what's his name? Alphonse Mucha,
Hmm.
hated the graphic design sort of sensibility that he became known for, then he's still known for now. And he painted these huge, just epic, gigantic
Hmm.
paintings along this exact same scale. And so I just wonder if there wasn't something in the air about trying to validate yourself as an
Yeah,
artist.
because what would happen too is you'd get commissioned to do a book cover. You'd do the painting because you'd have to do a painting. There's no other way to do the illustration. You would mail the painting to the publisher. They would photograph it. They'd do all the processing, and then they had paid for the painting. And when they ran out of room, they would just throw the paintings away. And so there are thousands of classic illustrations that are in landfills somewhere. And there's people who, you guys know Alma Tadema, that he was another painter at this time. You've surely um, seen his work. My internet connection is running at a snail's pace,
You're
but
still at the Airbnb, right?
I know, I know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, look it up. But his paintings were like, I remember I have a book of Alma Tadema book, and I was reading about one of these beautiful paintings of like this woman on a by a seascape
They're
with
like
this beautiful
Maxfield
marble.
Parrish.
Yeah, and they said this particular painting was rescued from an alley and cleaned up, and I'm just like, what?
Okay, now
How's this
I have a
possible?
new side career now. I want to go find some of these paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Well,
there's
and
a
didn't they
Wyeth
say that
painting
this
found.
Wyeth? Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, there's a Wyeth painting found in a thrift store like a few years ago, too. Just because someone was like, this is. They probably found it. They probably hung it up, and
Yeah,
then they're like, "Well, we're
I
done with
love
this."
those stories. There was an old Vermeer found like that pretty recently as well.
Hmm. What were you gonna say, Anthony?
I was going to ask. I can't remember from the story where has this one been for the last 20 some years. I know it said in the article. I just can't find the right spot that
Well,
this
I
painting
want
went through a bit of a refresh in the late 80s, but it had not been seen really since then. I don't think.
right. So this is I want to point this out right here. So during the Depression, tell me if you can even imagine in your wildest imaginations, could even conceive of this happening today. A bank president in the middle of a depression commissions an illustrator to do a 19 by 60-foot mural just to be behind the bank tellers at his bank, and will pay the equivalent of $270,000 for it.
That's about what I get per illustration.
Like, something happened between now and 30 or 100 years ago where that doesn't happen anymore. You walk into
Well,
a bank and
that's the weird
it
part
feels
is
like a
that
Best Western.
Yes, it does.
art somehow. I mean, this again going down a depressing sort of road, but art was valued more. The skill was valued more back then, obviously, because they proved that with how much they would pay for it. Not a lot of people could
Mhm.
do a painting like that, right?
Yeah,
So
and
they
even
paid
to
for
he
it.
commissioned Wyeth to paint the quote the story of thrift as it applies to humanity. Imagine that prompt too. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. We've lost something. We've lost something. But to Anthony's question, the history of this. So um, as banks do, they rise and fall, and they move out of the buildings that they built for themselves over the course of 50 years or whatever. And so this bank probably, I don't get exactly what happened to this bank, but it ended up being turned into apartments. And so what do you do with a giant painting if you've got to like fill the bank up, fill the main space up with like living spaces? So it was just rolled up and put into storage, and there it has lived for, I think it was there for like 60 years or something like that. And they didn't know what they were doing when they rolled it up, so they damaged it. And the Wyeth estate had this painting. They didn't know what to do with it. There's nowhere to put it. Like, where do you put it? Museums didn't want to hang it because that is prime real estate. They could be given to 100 other paintings. And so finally the family estate, which these guys knew how to ball because NC Wyeth's grandson married an heiress of the DuPont fortune. So they're just rolling in money. And he's like, "Hey, honey, can we, spend the rounding error on last year's dividends on a barn on the countryside to put this painting in?" So that's what's going on there.
It's the second time we brought up the DuPont business today. We're sponsored by. This was a really
Anyway,
fun article. This was a great palate cleanser after you sent us the doom and gloom of the first AI one. So
Yeah.
this was a lot more fun to
Yeah.
read today.
And that's what I really wanted to do was start with the doom and gloom and try to edge our way up to positivity. What's cool here too is this little detail. You could see you have NCY's signature and the 1932 underneath, which is is the dating of it. I assume he painted that first, and then they started to frame it up at the bank, and they're like, "Wait, the frame's going to go right over the 1932. Can you come back in here and fix it?" And so he had to add it over on this side. I love little details like that.
Yeah. That's neat. It's really neat.
Any other takeaways you guys have from this article?
I just like to try to convince people, if you haven't seen art in this scale, like to go to the Louvre, go to, even in New York, you can go to I can't remember which painting it is, but there's like actual, like Norman Rockwell behind the bar I'm going to look at that up.
Oh, the Society of Illustrators. Yeah.
No. There's an actual bar though that has the Norman Rockwell bar. Let me look it up.
I think the second floor of the Society of Illustrators is like it's like a bar, and they have all these paintings, a ton of paintings up there.
I apologize. I have an intrusive thought while you look all of this up. So what we're looking at on the YouTube screen right now is the gentleman who has this barn and this 19 by 60 piece up in it. And my favorite thing is he's got two different colored socks on, and he is beyond wealthy. And it's got to be one of my favorite features.
He's
got
wearing
two different socks.
The kind of outfit that only a multimillionaire can get away with, or a homeless man can get away with.
Yeah, there's no middle ground at all. There's no middle ground. He looks like he's a mixture. And again, I'm not trying to be rude. This is just all for silliness. He looks like he's either like an archaeologist who is colorblind,
Pirate.
which is which is gonna lead us to our next conversation, or he's gonna go out skeet shooting, and he got dressed in the dark. It's fantastic.
He might wash your windows and shake you down for $10
in the intersection.
Yeah, at the intersection.
All right, so my point was, this one's at the Tap Room. It's in New Jersey, actually, which is why I didn't get it right. And it's in Norman Rockwell. But if you haven't seen paintings at scale, it's worth it, because I think a lot of these new kids these days have only seen images as big as their monitor.
Yeah,
and it really does pay to go see something huge. Like when I first went to the Louvre, I was blown away with the absolute scale. It's not just one or two painters that were painting at this scale. Like there was a bunch of them, and some of them take up entire rooms just with one painting.
Can I ask probably the dumbest question of all time? How do you make canvas that big? Like in 1932, or like, it would have to be prior to that. What kind of press is able to pump out a canvas that is 19 feet high by, what do you think, 15
I'm sure
feet?
he contacted like a sailboat company.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Well, you know what's weird about that time? I've talked a lot about this when I'm watching shows like Deadwood or some of these other shows. That back then there was low technology, and then somehow the weird ability to get hyper technical and super detailed. Like, for example, one of the things you were talking about is take these gold mining towns that are in the West that are rough, people are getting shot every day, and then the building style is Victorian.
Yeah.
And there's all this like intricate millwork and woodwork. Even in these ghost towns that are around Colorado, you can see some of that stuff. And it just doesn't make any sense for the time period.
Yeah,
and for the
What you could
place.
do with hand tools, you know.
Right. And yet they're still going full detail with some of these railings and, crown moldings and things like that. And I think the same thing here is like they had low tech, but somehow the gumption, the ability to go huge with some of this
Right.
stuff.
and that's in
It's
the last
weird.
200 years. Yeah.
One other thing I thought was cool. So you have NC Wyeth. You have this dynasty of artists, right? So you have NC Wyeth, and then you have his son Andrew Wyeth, and then you have
I like him
grandson
better.
Jamie Wyeth. So to compare Jamie or Andrew with NC Wyeth, how would you compare those two, their styles?
I don't know Jamie. I know Andrew Wyeth is
Do compare Andrew with NC.
Oh, and Andrew Wyeth is one of my absolute heroes because it looks like he only worked in watercolor, but he actually worked in some other mediums too, tempera and some gouache and stuff. But I mean he was anti illustration as you could possibly be. I mean, just like most people do with their parents, they go the opposite way. NC
Right,
Wyeth
he
was
zigged while Wyeth was zagging, while NC
right,
was zagging.
right, and NC Wyeth kept trying to get Andrew Wyeth to use more color, to be more illustrative, to tell these stories. And Andrew Wyeth was interested in painting, a barn, like no
Right.
characters,
Or
no
like a
story.
dead crow.
Right.
You know? Or
So macabre scenes. Yeah.
Do you think
he's just a
it's
different kind of
painting
artist.
Christina's world is more popular than one of NC's paintings? Like, what's the most
I think it
popular
is.
NC Wyeth painting?
I think it is. And if you're not familiar with that illustration, it's this woman in a field. The composition's incredible.
Yeah.
And she's in a field and she's apparently disabled, so she can't walk. So she's crawling from the back view towards a farmhouse that's up on the horizon. And it's just arresting. It's like, whoa, it really is impactful.
It is one of the most
Crippled
famous
because of
paintings of all
polio,
time.
right? It was polio.
Yeah,
I think it was
possibly,
yeah.
What was funny, and I forget where it said it in here, but Jamie Wyeth, the grandson, he said, I hated hanging out in my dad's studio. All he had was like taxidermied animals and dead crows and stuff. But my grandpa's studio, he had like muskets and cutlasses and like
pirate
skeletons
outfits and stuff.
Yeah, pirate outfits. He was the best to hang out with.
That's like Lee's closet.
Yeah.
For real. All right, last one here. This comes from My Modern Met. This is playful children's book serves as an early tool for detecting color blindness. So I thought this was really cool about reminding us that you have the power within you as an illustrator to actually make the world a better place and enact change in real ways. And it starts out here. It says it's estimated that there are about 300 million people with color blindness around the world. Despite the significant population with the condition, it can be difficult and costly to diagnose, especially in young children. But Navi Education, one of India's largest school book publishers, may have found a solution that doesn't break the bank. And so what they've done is, and I'm going to scroll down to a couple of illustrations here, they have a children's book where these dotted patterns, you've seen them before, where it's these colors that are like pretty close to each other value-wise. They only differ in color, where they hide numbers and letters and things like that.
Oh,
and so
yeah,
all these animals have these dot patterns on their bellies with numbers hidden in them. And if you can't see them, you're colorblind. If you can, then your color's working just how it should be.
Can you guys see them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some a little bit better than others.
That one's the hardest one, the butterfly one for me. I can see it, but
same.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, that one's the same for me.
This one's a little difficult, but
I kind of giggled when I was looking at this earlier. I was like, wait, is this how I'm going to die? I'm not colorblind, but I was like, is this how I'm going to find out today? Is this podcast that I can't see the color beige or something?
I hate to tell. I mean, I actually took a colorblind test and got to a page where I was like, oh, this must be the standard because there's no number on here. And the people around me laughed, and I'm like, why are you laughing? And then they were like, oh, we thought you were kidding. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm so confused. And it turns out that everyone could see what was written on this page, and it was invisible to me. So there is a certain shade of light pink that I absolutely cannot see as
Oh,
color.
You
wow.
just don't have that ability, huh?
Nope.
Is that
And
the only color?
I thought they were punking me. So I actually took it out into the hall and grabbed some more people and said, is there something on this page? Because I thought they were just messing with me. And sure enough, and we've come across that color a few times. Like there was a picnic table cover that was that color that I thought was like totally gray. And my son's like, no, that's pink. And I'm like, hey.
So if you interesting question, because I don't have anybody in my world that is colorblind. So if you started to mix that certain shade up, so you've got all of your pinks in your palette, and you can clearly see those and identify those, and you can see the difference between bright to not bright, yada yada. If you start to mix that shade, does it then just sort of descend into gray for you, or what does that look like?
Correct. It's just gray.
Wow.
Just a value. It's not a color. I can tell it's not white, but it does not have the warmth of pink.
Interesting. That's so cool. I've never really had a conversation with somebody who can describe it like that.
It's weird, and it's weird to not have known it. And I would consider myself good at color. Like one of my exercises in my watercolor workshop and a lot of the painting classes I teach is, hey, let's just pull something up, whatever you got. It's funny because I don't have anything of color around me right now, but just pull something up out of your immediate area and mix that color. And you should be able to hit it. And I can hit it. I mean, I can hit it probably 97% close to whatever the match color is. And so I was just shocked that I don't have that ability to see that one tone. It's really weird.
That is. Go ahead.
Is my screen popping up there?
Not right now.
I tried to switch to another. I was going to show these particular things in grayscale, but for some reason I can't screen share anymore. So that's.
Can you send me a link? I'll screen share.
I'll just text it to you.
Maybe because you're streaming from a potato in an Airbnb while you wait to move into your real house.
I know.
In the world, I like that there's enough space for books that have purpose, and that there's enough space for books that are silly and that can just exist because they're fun. This is really one of those projects that I think has such a great purpose, and it's exciting to see stuff like this. This was a really fun article for me to read, and I think a lot about. I volunteer, and my younger son. I have 3 kids. My younger son's school. He's in 3rd grade, and I something like this I think would be a really neat addition to the library as they do all sorts of testing and stuff in there too. So,
yeah.
Okay, you want me to share that, Jake?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
go for it and share it. It makes me think that, like, as a illustrator, storyteller, like what are you leaving on the table that you could be bringing to it in regards to this? Like, what other things could you use a children's book to do that you wouldn't normally think of?
Yeah.
So
describe for us what you see on the screen right now.
So I'm seeing it. So Jake took that same book and turned it grayscale, and the whale with the number on his belly. I see a slight value shift where the number is. It would be hard for me to tell what number that is. Like if you showed me that and said, just look at this whale, I would not know that there's something in there. But I do see the color. I see the value shift. Could you guys see it?
I see a value shift vaguely. Yeah.
It's really slight. This one's harder. This is the frog.
Yeah.
This one's way harder. Matter of fact, I couldn't tell you what number that is.
Yeah, I think we're lucky in the sense of like we have some of the contextual clues. But it's funny that as you looked at the frog, I was like, oh, that's the letter D. And I go back and look at it on the color. No, that's the number 10. It's not the letter D.
Similar kind of shape, but I can see value. I mean, like this one is super obvious that it's the 8. The butterfly one. But yeah, I mean, changing the value. I definitely see value very subtle shades of gray, but that when it's that one color, I don't know.
Yeah,
Now,
we on my one of my recent live streams, we do all sorts of drawing challenges, and one of the people that we were working with or sharing their artwork said that they are colorblind, and they see the vast majority of everything just as value. And I was really impressed by their color choices. Not only, I mean, I think they have the advantage in the sense of their value work was so strong because that's how they see a lot of stuff, and so they were able to get the contrast really well made because of the value. But I was just so impressed that they were able to then lay over color over top of it, and that it didn't feel like it was coming from somebody who was dealing with color blindness.
Were
It was
they
really
just
impressive.
guessing? Were they just guessing at the color then?
So guessing, but also calibrating using sort of other people and using feedback sort of over the course of their creative career, and having just a little bit of extra assistance to say like this color works well with this, but not with this. And then, as you know, like some colors just have a little bit more value to them. Like yellow has much less darkness to it than like a purple or something like that.
I think
And so
red
there is a
green
little bit
is
of a
the
guessing
most.
game, but then also being able to look and understand like how the color chart works. And if we're going to be working on the opposite sides of the color chart, that those colors tend to be friendly to each other. So
That's interesting. I think most people are red-green colorblind in some capacity. So like yellow purple is probably fine.
yeah,
It's not just going to be somebody's colorblind and they only see in grayscale. I think that would be the most rare thing ever.
yeah.
But
one
one thing I
last
should
thing
point
here.
out,
Oh,
that,
go for it.
sorry, just in general color theory, one thing that I'm actually going over in the design workshop that I'm doing pretty soon is the more neutralized a color, so like you pull up a color picker on Photoshop, and on the far right side and upper right side is full saturation, right? And on the left side is grayscale, true grayscale. And everything else in between is some version of that red. And so the farther on the left side of your sort of scale that you go in terms of color saturation, you can mix any color. You can even have, blue sky, green grass, red barn, which is always my sort of joke color balance because it looks horrible if you do that at full strength. But the more color you remove, the more colors you can add without them being ruining a harmony.
Mm. So are you teaching that in your upcoming workshop?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the things, like if you ever struggle with color, as long as you got, like I've actually pull up the Photoshop color picker and show you a line that if you stay to the left of it, you can pick any color.
Wow.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd really love to see you do that in action. This is not a crummy commercial for your workshop. I can't remember, is registration open for that, or when does registration close for that workshop?
It will be by the time people hear this one. It's
Okay.
in actuality, we still have I think 2 days before we get the landing page finished, but it should be out by the time people are hearing this.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I'm going to take the wind out of some of our sails here.
Oh,
and
no.
that is,
6.
I suspect that this is AI influenced AI art on some of these.
Why do you
and
think
if you
that?
look at this,
Oh, I see
Well,
it now.
if you're a
You ruined
single-
it for me, Jake.
I think there's some Photoshop happening, but I think they rendered out a bird, a bird, a bird, a bird, a bird, and then Photoshopped them into one composition, and maybe AI'd a tree here or something, and then went in and added little details that kind of made it human. But if you're an illustrator, are you really going to do 6 birds on a page and have them all be in different style?
I didn't see it at first, and I thought I was good at this.
I don't know. I disagree with that. So I'm not saying it's that you're totally wrong, but like I see illustrators include all kinds of stuff that I would never think to include on a page that's distracting away from what they're actually trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at the.
I don't know. There's just something weird here where I'm just like, why would the illustrator make that choice? Like these little choices.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
on
but
the.
I think it's weird to
especially
get
on the
into the
bird
point where you go where if something doesn't jive with your own sensibility of what you do, you're just like, oh, this is AI. I think there's a danger there.
We're now
That's
AI
definitely an-
detectives.
That's definitely an AI frog.
I disagree. I don't think this is AI.
I did
All right.
notice on the whale that a bunch of the background, like the little floaty things in the water, those are all just copied and pasted back in,
Yeah,
which
there's
you would do in Photoshop on your own too. It doesn't mean that AI did it, but they're all the same. They're the same shape and they
yeah,
have the same line
same
to
shape.
it. Sometimes they just flip the other direction.
See, that makes me think that it is a human, that they had a brush
Mhm.
that was that. Because would AI
Right.
repeat that same thing?
Why would a human do this? Actually, a human would definitely do that right there.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
tangent.
We've fixed 100 images like that on how to fix your art. I mean, more than that. I don't think it is.
Uh,
I mean, if it is, they're hiding it really well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think
it's
the
funny
bird
that
one. I think the bird one says it the most. Yeah.
I mean, look at these two birds and that one. I mean,
That's
this
an
is
Angry
not-
Birds. That's an Angry Birds bird on the right. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
Maybe. I
It's-
don't know.
like think about it. You're an artist. You know how to do this kind of rendering. You could do this nice, like, cool little fade on the head and the wing, and then you only do it on the smallest bird and on no other thing in the entire book. Okay,
Shut up.
why?
There's some
the-
poor
who's-
artist in India right now listening to the show. Their hero, Jake Parker, is discussing their work, and then their whole face just goes.
Who's the artist? Does it say?
It
It
didn't
doesn't
say.
say. Well,
No.
it's created by a company.
Oh.
Where did I read that?
Uh-oh.
Navneet Education, one of India's largest school book publishers. So you know they're like on a budget. They're trying to get this done as cheaply as possible. So I think, I don't know, something's weird. Something's off. Anyway,
I don't know.
we'll wrap it up there.
I think
Well, I mean,
we should do this
gonna be our
topic more often.
Is that going to be our future, though? Is that anytime somebody posts something, you're like, oh, I like that. Wait a second.
I mean,
100%.
we have to at some point. I mean, either you just roll
gross.
over and not call
Gross.
it out, or you do where you call it how you see it.
Yeah, I think all three of us as parents, I think we're all starting to have those conversations with our kids about how to figure out what's real and what isn't real. And I think a lot of us who are skeptical about AI just in general are going to really feel like we feel like we have to be more vigilant to the whole thing. And but a lot of us are going to get it wrong too, and that's going to be the scary part.
Hey,
So-
Jake, were we talking about this on this podcast where it was I can't remember who I was having the conversation with about how schools are now fighting that problem of kids turning in AI written stuff, and the solution that they came up with was the tracking of what the process is. Were we
I
talking
think
about
we
that
were
on
having
here?
some of that conversation.
I can't remember if it was during
If
a
not, I've had
podcast
it
or
with
not.
someone else.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry if it's a repeat for some of you guys, but I thought it was fascinating that basically when you're writing, say you're writing a book report on George Washington, for example, you're in the software that you have to write it in, whatever that is with the school, and it's tracking how you are typing things in. So it will not allow you to copy paste, and it's tracking time too. So if all of a sudden you write a George Washington article and it took you 25 seconds, they know. And so, so anything is in real time. So it's tracking how long the entire thing took you. And so you could game it by, I guess, just sitting there and, typing out manually something very slow. But if you just typed it smoothly with no pauses to get more information or whatever, it would show that too.
They should do that for like Procreate. So there should be like a Procreate leaderboard that you could just go to and you could say, check my account. There's like an Anthony Wheeler account, and you just go on there and it'll show how much time was spent on each piece you posted on the internet.
I love that idea, but have you seen these people who have to, like, they work from home and they want to go play pickleball or whatever, and so they have like a little robot that moves their mouse for them so they look like they're always online. Somebody's just gonna create like a little robotic arm that just does this on Procreate.
You're gonna game it.
You're gonna game it.
Gross.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well, at least they're
What
trying.
are we gonna do?
At least they're
Nothing.
trying.
Nothing.
Oh man, should we wrap it up there?
Let's wrap.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today on 3-Point Perspective. And if you haven't, do check out the new workshops we are launching right now. Lee's watercolor workshop is hands down the best watercolor workshop out there in teaching you really the fastest way and the easiest way to like wrap your head around watercolor. If you've ever been scared of it, you're not going to be scared of it after you take his course. So check that out. Sam's is looking good. It's this paper stories is what it's called. But if you look at Sam Conroe's work, she illustrates with 3D paper models that she makes with glue and scissors. And she's going to show you how to do that. And you're going to finish that workshop with your own little creation that you've made. And then Lee's got, what was it? Sketch Reel?
Smart.
Sketch Smart, which essentially one of the biggest problems we see with the people we work with on how to fix your art and other students is they get so lost in the early stages of an illustration. They know what to do in like the rendering, and they'll noodle and render and noodle and render. But if the foundation of the drawing is crumbling, there's no amount of rendering that can fix that. And so what Lee's going to show you is the quickest way to get an awesome composition that all your rendering can really look good on top of. So check out those 3 courses. And this podcast is hosted by yours truly, Jake Parker. We got Anthony in the house. We got Lee in the house. And go check out their work as well if you're not familiar with them. Podcast produced by Daniel Tu. Preston Smith, shout out to him, our team manager. Austin Shirtliff, our keeper of the curriculum. Our show notes wrangler, Lily Howell. Chief Operations Officer, Lisa Fott. And our illustrator, Annalise Black. Now, go draw something.